Welcome to the Global Speaker Advantage, the #1 podcast where your voice goes beyond borders. Hosted by Oliver Shum, international speaker and coach, this show is for speakers ready to grow influence, land paid gigs, and make a global impact. Tune in every Tuesday and Friday weekly for insights, interviews, and strategies to help you thrive on the world stage. Let's go global.
Here is Oliver Shaw, and this is again the Global Speakers Advantage podcast. Today is another amazing day, and we're having a really amazing guest in the house with us, which you're going to be discovering shortly. So, like you know already, at the Global Speakers podcast, we are connecting your voice and your stories beyond borders. And what it means is that you are taking your message to different countries and to different continents of the world. And that's exactly what you do. My dear friend, as you know, my job is to help professional speakers, aspiring speakers to take their messages beyond their countries, beyond their continents, and beyond the entire borders where they are confined or located. And that's why we are so passionate about professional speaking, and that's exactly how we work with speakers from different countries of the world. And with me in the studio is a phenomenal, fantastic, a transformational keynote speaker. And today we'll be looking at how to become the world's best. And he's actually the world's best. And so let's hear from our guest, Sign Muller. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. So happy to be here with you today, Oliver. Thanks for having me.
Lovely. Great. I'm so happy to know that you're happy to be here today. Say, your story is so it's almost unbelievable. It's a story I've not heard before. Like I've heard that before, and I've never seen the person. And that's one of the reasons why our team got you to the studio for this podcast. Like, you're not only a speaker, but a transformational speaker with a phenomenal story. Tell us, sir, before we dive into the details of the story and your journey as a transformational speaker, what is your one word? That's the foremost question we ask to all our guests.
Yeah. One word is tough, especially as a speaker, right?
Yep.
We speak in a lot of words. I would have to say for me, it's grateful.
Oh,
Grateful. Gratitude.
gratitude. I love
Grateful.
that. I love that. Somebody says gratitude is what connects us to power. And that's very true.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Gratitude is a great connector, and I very much believe it's something to be shared with
Okay.
others, right?
Okay.
It's not to be kept in our own head and thankful, but it's to be shared with others.
Lovely. So, my dear friend, watching live right now, be on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, let us know which part of the world you're watching us from. Are you watching us from Asia? Are you watching us from America? Are you watching us from Canada? Are you watching us from Africa? Which country in Africa? Is it Cameroon? Is it Kenya? Is it South Africa? Is it Nairobi? Is it Ghana? Is it Nigeria? Let us know. Just drop the name of your country where you're watching us from, and hopefully along the way, our technician somehow will let us know so we can send you a high shout. That's going to be a global high shout for you and just for you. And so today we're looking at how to become the world's best. And the first time I saw this, my face light up, like I was so impressed seeing the expression the world's best. So what happened before you came up with that brand title, being the world's best? I remember you told me the other day that I'm the world's best. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, exactly. It's a way to help share gratitude. Really,
Yeah.
it's a different way of saying thanks.
Okay.
You're the world's best. So, August 23rd, 2024.
Yeah.
I died.
Oh my God! Did you hear
Yeah.
that? Amazing. What happened?
yeah,
You
I-
came back to life.
I did. I had a sudden cardiac arrest.
Okay.
I was, my heart stopped. I was flatline for about 8 minutes.
Mm.
And good friends I was with that I've known for 30, 35 years were there to do CPR, mouth to mouth, and the chest compressions. And then the first responders arrived with the defibrillator to start my heart. And so I'm alive today because of that. But I think of that as a heart-stopping moment.
Mm.
And we don't have to have a heart-stopping moment that involves the hospital and ambulance and a defibrillator and 7 days in the ICU. It's a very personal thing. If you think about, we all have them,
Mm.
right? They make us stop in our tracks. They make us pause and think. They make us reflect
Mm.
on what's really important. What are our priorities? Could be the birth of your child. It
Mm.
could be getting married. It could be a big presentation at work to the board.
Yeah.
It could be taking a loan for your first business.
Mm.
There's a lot of things that could be heart-stopping moments. We all have them.
Wow.
And it's really how do we respond to them
Mm.
that matters.
Wow. Unbelievable. And like that's so amazing. That's so amazing. I really love that. And you died for 8 minutes, and after then something happened. You came back. And like being a man of faith, I see how your mission on earth was not done yet, and God brought you back to finish your assignment on earth. And I love that. So tell us, tell us, you came back. Like, can you tell us, watching, and especially I guess watching, how was it like when you died?
How was it like to be dead?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that day I golfed, a nice course out by Lake Minnetonka in Minnesota here.
Yep.
Anybody that wants to look up on the map from across the globe, with a group of friends. There were 12 of us total that I'd met from General Mills,
Okay.
1994.
Wow.
These people became my best friends in the world. We were there for the birth of our children in the hospital, graduation now, college of our children, catching up.
Yep.
Catching up on the golf course and just chatting. It's like, hey, what's going on? How's being an empty nester? Half of them live out of town, half of them are in town here. And it was my turn to share, and they kind of said, hey, what have you been up to, Sig? And I said, well, you guys remember when I left General Mills, I went to work for that defibrillator company, a company called Survival Link.
Okay.
Survival Link pioneered automated external defibrillators. So before that, defibrillators were in hospitals and ambulances. We were the first to put them in airlines, in golf courses, police cars, out where people, the real world, where people actually have cardiac arrests, because it's really a key to saving lives. So I shared with them, you guys remember that company I went to? We had a 25-year reunion 2 weeks ago of that defibrillator company. They're like, oh, yeah, I remember that, Sig. I'm like, it just reminded me how important it is to do CPR.
Wow.
I said that to the people that were going to do CPR on me later in the day. So you talk about faith. I think something brought me to that moment. A God incident, some people call it. I think of it as my guardian angel.
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable. We finished golf, and I decided the golf course, bad place to have a cardiac arrest. I think they actually had a defibrillator there.
Okay.
And I said, as though I had a choice,
Yeah.
where I was going to have my cardiac arrest. Pretty remote area, far from a hospital. Later that night, same group of people. We were at a barbecue in the backyard. And interestingly, the same home that 2 years before my son had had his groom's dinner at when he was married. Exact same place. Almost to the date 2 years before. And that's where I had my cardiac arrest. And there's a picture of me sitting out at a bar in the backyard by the outdoor pool with 4 or 5 of my friends. I don't remember that picture being taken, but it was taken 2 minutes before I died. And I think at that point, something had happened where I maybe wasn't feeling right, and I certainly don't remember it. 2 minutes later, my friend Paul walked around to me where I was sitting, and when I died, he caught me.
Okay.
He laid me on the ground. He and his wife gave me CPR right there. Takes a special friend to do that. These were all the people I've known for 30 plus years. That started a series of 2 to 3 days that I don't remember anything. So they call it anterograde amnesia. So 8 minutes, I'm dead. I didn't see anything. I don't remember anything. Some people talk about dying experiences. Maybe they have a vision or see things.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything. And I got to the hospital with a couple friends that went in the ambulance with me. And then a series of events over the next few days, which I'm happy to recount, really led to my current mission.
Okay.
So 2.5 days, 3 days of my life, I don't remember a thing. I came to. I was talking to people just like we're having a conversation right now,
Mm.
Oliver. And I had this anterograde amnesia.
Okay.
So what that meant was I remembered everything in my life before my cardiac arrest.
Oh, gotcha.
So if I met you before that
Yeah,
day, I'd
yeah.
remember your name. I'd
Okay.
remember everything we'd done together in our lives, all of that.
Oh.
But I couldn't form new memories.
Okay, of what happened when you were there.
Yeah. Or those first 2-3 days.
Yeah.
So if someone came to visit me, if
Mhm.
the doctors told me you had a cardiac arrest,
Mhm.
2 minutes later, I didn't remember who visited. I didn't remember what the doctors told me. It was my own personal Groundhog Day.
Okay.
So I'm in this state of anterograde amnesia. And so everything I learned later from my sister Maria, from family friends, from the caregivers,
Mhm.
because I didn't remember any of it. They had to fill in the gaps in my life
Okay.
that I couldn't remember. And give you an example of it. So the first 2 days, the phlebotomist would come and draw my blood about every hour.
Mm.
And so, Oliver, if you were my phlebotomist, you'd come into the room and I'd say, "Hi, what's your name?"
Mhm.
"Oliver." "Oliver, you are the world's best."
Okay. You said that unconsciously.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
had no idea anything
Okay.
I was saying. And then he'd say, "I'm here to draw your blood. My name's Oliver." And
Mhm.
okay, great. You'd come draw my blood. You apparently were very, very good at it
Mm.
because I would tell you 5 more times before
Mm.
you left the room that you are the world's best.
Wow. Unconsciously.
Unconsciously, I had no idea I was doing this, but something in the back of my mind made me say this.
Mm.
You know, many more experience. I had a good friend of mine come in, Mike, and ask if he could pray with me.
Mm.
And he said a prayer. We said it together. I don't remember that. That's kind of on the edge of, I remember he came, but don't remember the details. One of the more funny stories
Mm.
is, and this hopefully is okay on the podcast, um, is the nurse. You know, this is the first time in my life I couldn't take care of myself.
Mm.
I was a all-American high school swimmer, state champ, Division I swimmer, leader of teams in the corporate world. For the first time in my life, I couldn't take care of myself at all. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't go to the bathroom. And so my sister, God bless her, and you know, she can give testament to this. It's the only reason I know the story. The nurse came in the room on day 2,
Mm.
I still don't remember it, and said, "Do you have to go to the bathroom?"
Mm.
And I said, "You are the world's best?" "I think so."
Wow.
So she proceeded to get the bedpan while I'm laying in the bed.
Yeah.
And help me go to the bathroom. And I told her, "You are the world's best," several more times.
Okay.
And then, you know, she took the bedpan away.
Yeah.
She wiped me. I couldn't even wipe myself.
Okay.
And she says to me, "I'm all done." And I said, "That was the world's best wipe."
Wow. Okay.
And then finally,
Yeah.
I'm done. She's wiped me.
Yeah.
That's great. And I looked around with great satisfaction at whoever was within earshot. And I said, "That was the world's best poop," with
Wow.
great, great pride
Oh,
of what I
wow.
had just done. I have no memory of any of that.
Oh, wow.
But the idea of "you are the world's best,"
Yeah.
I was saying to everyone. And wasn't until later that I was able to reflect and people told me I'd been doing
Okay.
this as to why I understood and came to the conclusion of why I said it.
So it's like you died, came back with a message to the world.
Yeah.
And the message to the world was, you are the world's best.
Yeah.
To anyone who is living, to anyone who is alive, to anyone you come in contact, and to anyone listening to this podcast right now, irrespective of what you're going through, irrespective of the country you're watching us from, or the continent you're watching us from, you are the world's best. And that's a message that Sik brought to you and to I after he died and resurrected. Like, do you have a history in your family where people die and resurrect? Come back to life?
No, I think I'm the first one to come back to life
Okay.
that I know about.
Okay.
And the "you are the world's best" origin, you know, as I reflected on why the heck did I say this crazy phrase?
Yeah.
What made me say it? And I think it was a few different reasons that I said it.
Okay.
And that helped me figure out my mission and why I was still here.
Mhm.
You know, you die, it causes you, that's the heart-stopping moment.
Mhm.
And you ask, why am I here? What's my mission?
All right.
And why the heck did I say you are the world's best so many times? And I think there were a few reasons. I think it was a fancy way of showing gratitude. First time I couldn't take care of myself. And I'm saying, you are the world's best, which is a fancy way of saying, thank you. I appreciate you. You're great. You're fantastic. We all don't hear that enough or share it enough. And that for me is the gratitude piece, right? Sharing gratitude. You can say it in a lot of different ways. For me, I say it as you are the world's best now, but it's got to be genuine and from the heart. I think the second reason I said it was, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't remember the doctor said you had a cardiac arrest.
Okay.
So I didn't really know what was wrong with me. I knew something bad was wrong. In the back of my mind, I clearly knew something wasn't right. And it was my way of being my own hype man, of motivating people. I knew I needed the world's best doctor who was going to put in my implantable cardio defibrillator. I needed the world's best nurse. I needed the world's best friend. I needed everyone to be their world's best so I would be okay. And I also, I think, was talking to myself. And I knew I needed to be my world's best if I was going to come through this and be okay. Because keep in mind, the odds of my living after sudden cardiac arrest that long are about 8%. The odds of being physically and mentally okay, 1 in 100. 1 in 100. So my friends and family, they're watching me in this state, wondering, am I going to be the 99% that doesn't come out mentally okay? Because I don't remember anything, and I'm saying this phrase all the time.
Okay.
And so the second reason I said it was I needed everybody to be their world's best, including myself. I think the third reason is, in today's world, we're told too often, you can't do that, that you're not good, right? It's too hard. A whole host of excuses and reasons and negative thoughts about why you can't get something accomplished. And I think the key is to share the gratitude and change that attitude.
Okay.
That, we need to share that and get rid of the negative thoughts. So
I love that. And to all our followers on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, thank you so much for your amazing comments. We really appreciate that. And thank you so much. Pretty good. Amazing. Okay. Keep on bringing in comments. If you free, you have words to Sign Muller, the man who died, and after 8 minutes, he came back to life. If you have any word or comment for him, drop it down. Thank you so much for dropping all of that. We really appreciate it. And so, this is kind of a global podcast, and we have listeners from all around the world. Today, I actually have we have our team is having 2 guests. One from South Africa, which is my mentor in public speaking, and you, and we our guests are expecting a lot from us. Especially from the questions and interaction, and I just want to ask the right questions that if the guests were to ask you, they would do.
yeah,
And so I really want to do justice to really be able to get the information that they will need to be the world's best, even as they listen to us now, and
Sure.
even those who will be listening after the podcast will gone live.
yeah.
So, what experience and what message do you have to somebody listening to us right now who has always been average? After you died and came back to life, what is that message you have to give to that person watching us right now about the importance of taking life serious and the importance of being intentional at everything you do?
Yeah. Well, attitude is a choice. I believe we all have the power, talent, and capacity to be the world's best version of ourselves every day. But we have plenty of days where we're not. Everyone does. That's normal, right? We have plenty of days I'm crappy Sig or you're crappy Oliver.
Yeah.
And we don't like those days,
Yeah.
right? And the people around us don't like those days. But the key is to have more days that are the good days where you are the world's best for yourself and for those around you. And that will elevate your performance. It will elevate your happiness. And the key is to develop some of the tools and mindset and methods to be able to get there. Unfortunately, in the world, we have 6,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. That's not the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part is 80% of those thoughts are negative. Negative. My goodness.
Crazy.
So, and 95% of those are repetitive. So what a bad place to start from.
Mm.
So how do you shift that to a more positive mindset? And we can talk more in detail about some of those things because I definitely have some tools and ideas about how to do that.
Mm.
And one of the things that jumps to mind for me is the final piece kind of my story, in that 2 months before my sudden cardiac arrest, I was fly fishing with my son in Montana. He's a second-year med student at a brand new med school in Billings, Montana. And, that's fly fishing capital of the world. It's among the best. And we're on the river all day with his pastor.
Mm.
And his pastor says to us, "Hey, guys, have you ever heard of the book 4,000 Weeks or seen the podcast 4,000 Weeks?" I'm like, "Nope, never heard of it. Don't know anything about it." In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, "Hey, man, I'm fly fishing with my son here, having some fun. I don't know if I need deep thoughts while I'm fly fishing." And this is 2 months before my cardiac arrest.
Okay.
And he shares that it's a book about living a purposeful life. And when you're born, you have 4,000 weeks to live. That's about 80 years. 80 years. 4,000 weeks.
Yeah.
So when you put it in
Yeah.
the perspective of 4,000 weeks, that seems like a lot less.
Mm.
And for me that day, I caught a brown trout, a Yellowstone trout, a cutthroat trout. I was fly fishing, having a great time with my son. That message kind of went in one ear, out the other ear. I didn't really think anything about 4,000 weeks. Okay, great. I'm 58 at the time. Wonderful. My dad's 95. I'm probably going to live a long time. And as I was reflecting in the 2 months following my cardiac arrest and why I'm here, the idea of, and for your audience, the second piece of it is purpose and mission and passion, but also an urgency to it.
I love that.
And I don't know if I'm going to live another day.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm going to live another year
Mm.
or until 95 like my father.
Mm.
It can feel like PTSD is real,
Mm.
I felt like maybe a bullet is chasing me and I don't know when it's going to hit me again, if I'm going to have another heart event. And how do you cope with that? Because when something like that happens to you, every heartbeat that's stronger, every muscle that twinges makes you pause and think, am I okay? Is it going to happen again?
Mm.
And we all have those kind of things that we tune into more, right? And sometimes they're traumatic things. Sometimes they're good things. And I reflected on the idea of 4,000 weeks and said, I have a choice. My choice is to stop living life and worry and be afraid and curl up in my home and stop living my life. Or I can put a stake in the ground and say, okay, I don't know how much I have left, but I'm going to live my life as though I have 1,000 weeks left. 1,000 weeks.
Wow.
It's 59. That'd be 79. That'd be pretty good. But in 20 years, right, 1,000 weeks,
Yep.
I have a lot I can do that's good. And I can execute a mission and I can help others in the world. And then you take it a step further, say, okay, 1,000 weeks, 20 years, it still seems like a pretty long time.
Mm.
But if you break it down, you have 20 summers,
Yep.
20 Christmases, 20 Easters, 20 of whatever's important to you if they're annual events. Each one of those is 5%. 5%. 5% of the 20 years. And that, to me, created some of the urgency and purpose. If I look at 20 years, and I know my cardiac arrest was 34 weeks ago and 4 days. I will always know how many weeks it is because I bring a different urgency and passion to each week in terms of getting things done. I have to balance that still a little bit with physical rehab and recovery, but I'd say I'm 90+% there, and I'm going to get to 100% no problem. And you take it down a little further and you say, how do you spend your time? The average person in a day checks their phone 205 times, is on social media for probably a little bit over 3 hours. And you could go on and on with the list, watches TV for almost 3 hours, and say, is that time well spent? Is that time well spent? Is that my mission? Is that my purpose? Am I helping others? Am I making the world a better place? And apply 5% to your personal life. 5% of 24 hours is 72 minutes. Not a long time. 5% of 14 hours, because maybe you sleep and have fun and do other stuff for 10 hours. You got 14 hours left. 5% of 14 hours is 42 minutes. So figure out what's important to you, what matters, what your mission is, and spend, my goodness, 5% a day, 42 to 72 minutes. Could be playing with your kids. It could be performing better in your work. It could be having a date with your spouse. A lot of things that maybe you aren't doing every day that you should be doing every day, spending that time with your children. It's personal to each of us, but figure it out and spend that 5% of the time. And some other things take a long time to achieve, right? Building a business. For me, writing a book.
Yeah.
And one of my goals is to spend 5% every day writing my book.
Wow.
And then when some days I spend more, I'll spend 3, 4, 5 hours. I get kind of sucked in and I'm in the groove writing.
Yeah.
But if I don't spend at least 5% every day, the book will never get written.
Absolutely.
So I think there's an urgency to today in spending the 5%, but then a purpose to how are you spending your time in the long term.
Wow. That's so intriguing. See, and this is interesting because obviously every human being is given 8,600 seconds every single day. Like you get up from bed, you've been credited to your account of time 8,600 seconds. And some people really say, especially business people, we are all business people, they say time is money. Like time is money. Like I don't really believe so much in that. But again, time is life. Because if you waste your time, you waste your life, just like you're saying. And I love the fact that you talked about urgency. Let's have an urgency, that mindset of urgency in everything we do. And that is, those are what the world best are doing. These are the things that the world best do. They are always urgent in what is that mission that they're pursuing. And so if you're credited 8,600 seconds every single day, what will it do? Now, ask yourself this question. If you are given 8,600 US dollars every single day of your life, and the condition with the money is you got to spend all of it.
All of it every day.
All of it every single day. And if by midnight you are not done with it, it is cancelled. They will just remove that back from your account. So the question is, what are you going to buy? What are you going to do with that money within 24 hours? Like you have to finish everything. And if you do that, the next day you'll be credited another 8,600 US dollars in that account. And you have to finish all the money. And so you're thinking about, what can I do with this huge money? And so you're thinking about that. And that's exactly what is happening in your life. Every single day, you and I were given 8,600 seconds.
Yeah, the currency's time. And what you're going to do with it.
And that is it. And that's the point. What are you going to do with that currency of time? And I love the importance of urgency in your message. See, urgency is so important. Like when we started this podcast, we could have started it next year, 2026, 2027, but we decided to start this 2025. And it was because we never knew who was going to benefit from it. We never knew the amazing guests we were going to be having. And so we just had to start it. And so I really love this message. Now, coming back to, you are a transformational keynote speaker, and you've spoken in one of our events, conferences here in Minneapolis, and your message is so powerful. Now, the second guest we'll be having today is Sten Rosso from South Africa, and he'll be talking about the global speaker strength. What is the trend in the global speaking industry, especially for international speakers, top international speakers, and global speakers. So, as a speaker, having this amazing message, like who are your audience? Like, who are the people you actually targeted with this message that I believe everybody needs to hear?
Yeah, that's a good question. We'll see if I can remember it in a minute, but I wanted to riff off your 8,600 seconds as currency, which I think is so interesting. I'd never broken it down that way before. And how are you going to spend that every day?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I'll have to think about it more, but off the top of my head, for me, it is things to expand my mission to reach more people, and probably a portion for charity that I believed in. And as I think about that, my goal is to reach, over the next 20 years, millions of people across the globe with my mission.
Yeah.
And to help them be the world's best version of themselves. So I think that $8,600
Yep.
I'm going to spend some on, advancing my book
Mm.
and writing more effectively. I'm going to spend some on my speaking and how to advance that further. And I'm going to spend some on reinvesting in causes and just things I think are important in the world. And I probably have to eat a little food too.
Oh yeah.
So,
Great. And so who are your audience like?
yeah.
Okay, who are the people your message is targeting?
Yeah.
Is it everybody?
Well, I think the simple answer is everybody.
Okay,
I've
sure.
been speaking a lot at faith groups.
Oh, faith groups.
I've been speaking a lot at corporations. In corporations, it's really about the company, the team, and the people.
Mhm.
And how do you align all of those things to fire on all cylinders, and the organization and the team and people perform at their world's best.
Awesome.
And I do some individual coaching as
Okay.
well. Not too much. I feel like you can make a difference one-on-one like that, but I feel whether it's a workshop, I'll do workshops at companies, half-day, full-day workshops. It's just you can reach more people that way and hopefully still have a great impact. I got a note from someone after one of my speeches, it's probably about 2-3 weeks ago. It was 3 days after
Okay.
I spoke. And one of the things I talk about is spreading gratitude and sharing gratitude. And in addition to the 5%, and this guy said in his email to me, he said, "This is the 3rd day after your speech, and every day so far, I wake up and I look in the mirror while I'm brushing my teeth, and I say 2 things to myself. Am I spending 5% on all the right things today?
Mm.
And am I sharing gratitude and appreciating people and being thankful for what I have? Not just in my own head while I'm brushing my teeth, but am I sharing that message with others? And we all have unique ways we can do that. So through the speaking, and it really is any audience, but I think corporations, faith groups, schools, I've done some speaking
Like
at
high
schools
schools,
as well.
universities.
Yep. Yep. I think it's all fair game.
Yeah. No doubt, you're transformational speaker, so everybody needs transformation.
Yeah.
And so you need that. So faith-based groups, churches, church conferences, religious meetings, corporate, Fortune 500, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. Yeah, that's your speaker. So two things came to my mind. Two statements from two great men. The first one was from John C. Maxwell. I'm actually listening to his book, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And in chapter 3, 4, he talks about a very powerful concept that every morning when you get up from bed, say, do it now, like 2,000 times. and it's amazing. I started practicing that. It's amazing. Like that talks about your message, urgency.
Yeah.
Do it now, do it
Yeah.
now, like 2,000 times. And you are reprogramming your reticular activating system, which is part of your unconscious mind,
Yeah.
to get things done and stop giving excuses.
Yeah.
And secondly, I was listening to one of my I followed him on YouTube. He's an amazing speaker and a coach, Myron Golden. He said something so powerful. Like, people talked about soccer, they talk about football, they talk about celebrities, how much money they're earning, which cars they're riding, which private jet they have, and they argue so much about it. They spend a chunk of their time, which is their life, talking about people's wealth. And those people don't know them.
Yeah.
They never think about them. And he was like, I don't have a TV in my house. I don't watch TV. I don't talk about people. I just focus about my assignment, my mission, my work here on earth, and I make sure I go do it. And so what do you have to say about that? Because some people, especially they do so in some countries, young people spend a chunk of their time idling, complaining, blaming their parents, the government, blaming the ecosystem, like literally blaming their uncles, the aunties, and almost everybody for why they are not making it in life and for why they are having the kind of faith they have. And I believe that, and the time they have, they watch TV, they watch football and they do stuff. And I know they waste their time, they blame everybody. Like, what message do you have to those people out there watching us right now, please?
Yeah, I think two things. You have to figure out how do you reprogram your mind to have a positive attitude.
Okay.
And one way is surrounding yourself by positive people. I want to be around people that are doing their best and encourage me and tell me great job, and I want to share that with others too. Along those same lines, you can start a gratitude journal. Every night before you go to bed or every night when you wake up in the morning, just write down 3 things you're grateful for. But then take it to the next level and, the next day or later that day, depending whether you do it at night or in the morning, share that with people.
I love
Right?
that.
You're writing it down in the journal. The other thing I think is super important. So you talked about negativity, but then also how people spend their time. And I actually have a chapter about this in my book.
Okay. Good.
Play.
Okay.
Play. I think play is super important.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Play heals the heart.
Okay.
Play is good for the soul. Play unleashes our imagination.
Which kind of play? Like?
Well, everyone plays in different ways. So for me, my play is scuba diving is one of the ways that I play.
Okay.
And in fact, this is kind of a crazy story. The 4th day in the hospital, the Medtronic rep came in and said, "Sig, we're going to give you an implantable cardio defibrillator."
Okay.
And told me all about it, the technical specs and everything. And I proceeded to ask him a whole bunch of questions. And I knew some of the questions because 25 years ago, I'd worked at this defibrillator company. What's the waveform that, it would shock me with if I needed it? What's the delivered energy of the device? All these kind of technical things. And he was great. He knew all the answers and finished. And I still, even though this I remember, right? It was day 4. I told him when he walked in the room, I told him as he's explaining it to me, "You are the world's best" multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
Explaining it to me. And he's starting to leave. And I said, "But I only have one more question for you. And it's the most important question.
Okay.
If you put this in me, can I scuba dive anymore?"
Mm.
And his response was, "I don't know,
Oh,
but I'm going to find out the answer for you."
oh, lovely.
So he came back later that afternoon and he used the word contraindicated about 20 times, I think.
Okay.
He said, "Sig, that's contraindicated." No. Meaning, and he explained that if you're underwater, diving at 70, 80 feet underwater and your defibrillator goes off, well, number one, it went off probably because you died or your heart was really screwed up.
Okay.
And you're probably going to drown after it goes off. I said, "Okay, I understand that risk." And he proceeded to say, contraindicated, can't do it more. And I said, "I understand that. It's something I want to do. Will the defibrillator, the ICD, withstand the pressure of diving?" Right? Because the different atmospheres, right? It's like when you go elevation in the mountains, the pressure's less. When you go underwater, the pressure is very strong. That's why you have to clear your ears when you go underwater. It's because of the pressure.
Okay.
And he said, "Well, it has been tested up to 100 feet underwater.
Okay.
So you could scuba dive up to 100 feet.
Oh, wow.
Which is fine. I mean, most of the scuba diving, 60, 70, 80 feet at the most. Occasionally, you might want to go deeper. I said, "I understand the risks. It can do it." And he said contraindicated a few more times. And then I told him, "You were the world's best." And I looked at him and smiled. And I said, "All right, let's go ahead and put it in."
Okay.
I don't think I had a choice. I think we were putting it in regardless.
Oh, nice.
But for me, preserving that ability to play is super fulfilling in my life.
Oh.
And we all play in different ways. It could be on the soccer field.
Yeah.
It could be playing a game of Catan or Monopoly with your kids. But it causes you to pause, suspend judgment,
Yeah.
be present. Releases innovation.
Yeah.
There's no mistakes. You just play.
Yeah.
And it's very freeing and healing of the soul, healing of the heart, and brings relationships closer together. So I think play is one of those things you should be doing 5% of the day. It's not just work.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have any fun today. I didn't play, which we do a lot.
Yeah.
I know in my career, You know, I'd work sometimes 20, 24 hours a day if that's what was required.
Hmm.
And you can burn out pretty quick that way. You can have a lot of health problems that way. And I think you can have a richer, fuller, more productive life
Hmm.
by incorporating an intentional way to play
Hmm.
every day. And you're at work, at home,
Hmm.
you know, at the gym,
Hmm.
whatever that is.
I love that. You were kind of talking to me, say like play. Like I'm like, how often do I really play in a day? Like I rarely do that. And could you? By the way, I play once in a while with my daughters. Like my last daughter, we play on the camera, do stuff, but that's not a lot of time. And cool because I spend most of my time, especially my morning hours. I go to the gym. I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Exercise. Could that be part of playing? I don't think
No,
so.
I think going to the gym can.
Okay.
For me, I do a lot of group classes
Okay.
at the gym. So they're with other people, they're to music.
Okay.
You know, it could be yoga, it could be doing aerobics.
Okay.
Could be lifting weights.
Yep.
You know,
I love that.
I think all that's play and just super good for you, right?
Okay.
It releases great chemicals in your body
Yeah.
and your endorphins flow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a super positive thing to
Okay.
work out physically. And I think that can be a form of play.
Okay. I love that. Yeah, I think so too. But
Yeah.
again, the people listening to us, especially our audience from United States, whew, like it's a busy country, man. Like you know what I'm talking. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a busy. Like everybody is
Amen.
like, I don't want to say under pressure. Like everybody is in the road and doing stuff. Like
Deadlines.
yeah, deadlines. You have to be on time. And like in the US, like many Western countries and even some developing countries, like you work is starting at 6 p.m. You need to be at 5:45. Come 1 minute late, you 2, 3, 4, 5 times you're fired. Take note of that. So if you ever think of working in any developed country, like think about that. Like you have to be on time.
Yeah.
And most of the time, people just want to work, and they really have less or little time to play. And I'm happy that you made a statement like counter contract, like okay,
Yeah.
going to the gym is a cool thing. So
Yeah.
try to figure out your playtime while you're in the gym. It could be joining. There are some nice clubs.
Yeah.
I mean basketball. Like as you join the basketball club team, you know, do stuff like
Cool.
cool.
A lot of things.
Yeah. Any other thing you can recommend on people who are highly busy with tight schedules on
Yes.
play?
Play at work.
Oh,
Play at work. And how do you do that? I'll give a few examples maybe from my career. I worked at General Mills. One of the brands I worked with was Betty Crocker. A lot of people know Betty Crocker. I think she travels around the globe, but she's about baking.
mm,
And that's one of General Mills' big brands. And this was probably the late 90s, 97, 98 timeframe. And we were looking at how could we innovate baked goods, you know, muffins, cookies, all that kind of stuff. And at the time we said, what about scones? And scones at the time, they weren't the fancy, you know, white chocolate, raspberry, jalapeno, cheddar scones. They didn't exist in the market. A scone was this bland, dry thing from Britain,
okay.
you know, universal around the globe, but it was really not that good tasting. Sorry. But it just wasn't. It was bland and dry.
Okay.
But we said, how could we innovate that? So we got everyone together across multiple functions, you know, operations, marketing, sales, and went to the Betty Crocker kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And our challenge that day was to make a better scone. And we had toys in the room. We had 100 different kinds of candy in the room. We had, you know, 30 different kinds of cookies in the room, and some other things as well. And that was our toolbox, along with, you know, flour and everything else. And just on our own, no matter if we had a little baking experience or a lot, it was make a fun, different scone you think people would like.
Okay.
And some of them were horrible.
Oh my god.
Some were horrible.
Okay.
But you know what? That shared experience
Yeah.
and laughing at that scone that Oliver made,
Yeah.
we called it the garbage scone.
Okay. I like that.
And when we ate it,
Yeah.
we had to use the kitchen spittoon
Oh,
because we couldn't even swallow it. You know,
it's crazy.
it's not a criticism.
Yeah.
It's in the spirit of play and having fun. And there were some really good ones we made too. But out of that,
Mhm.
we came up with some really cool innovations to make a better tasting scone that was moist in a better form function for the channel we were serving. That's play at work.
Yeah.
And I
like
can
that.
give you some more examples, but
Okay.
it frees the mind.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so our guests watching right now, yeah, well, I'm a very practical person. So our guests watching right now, they want us to do something. This is work. This is a studio. So maybe you want to grab your bottle of water.
All right.
Okay. Let's do some 30 seconds play. Okay, you three. Oh, okay. Let's go again. Let's go again. Okay, let's do the difficult part of it now. We exchange.
Uh-oh. You juggle a little.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's what he had his leg there, kind of laying on the chair.
You got it?
Oh, I got it.
There we go.
I got it.
Let's go again.
All right.
Okay, let's go again. Oh, let's go again for last time. Oh, there we go.
And really fun games you could do. You can set it on the table.
Yeah.
And do the idea of, can you flip it and let it land on itself?
Okay, let's go.
I'm not very good. But the goal is to flip it and make it land like that.
Okay, let's
We-
try. Oh my gosh.
I know some people that can do this in one try.
Okay.
I could probably try it 1,000
Maybe-
times
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be able to do it. But some people are really good at that. Just a
I
crazy,
like that.
silly way to play.
Maybe one of our guests could come to the studio and do that. Like, okay, you flip it. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me try for the last time. I like trying stuff.
And I
Oh
think
my
I think part of the trick is having the right amount of water in there, which we probably don't have. But
That's a good excuse for us. Very cool. So ladies and gentlemen, and our dear friend and guest, this is time for your advert. We don't have an advert yet, so next time we make sure you send us your advert so we can advertise in the podcast. So coming back to the studio and to live, I felt relaxed and less pressure after the 30 seconds play. I think it was like 1 minute.
yeah.
So maybe William should let us know how much time did we spend playing on the studio. And it's really fun. Like, it's not just be too busy talking about life and dirt, life after dirt, and all of that. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool.
And the laughter and joy was genuine.
Yeah, it was.
You made a really bad toss and it went under my chair.
Oh my
I think it was a bad catch on my part. But it wasn't a judgment thing. It was just fun in the moment.
Yeah, kind of. And that's it. And that's what makes us unique. And that's what makes the Global Speaker Podcast unique. Okay, so let's talk about your speaking business a little bit. Like, you what topics do you talk on? I know you're a transformational keynote speaker,
Yep.
and I cannot wait, Africa, to get you down to the continent and do some gigs in South Africa, in Cameroon, in Kenya, in Ghana,
Would love
Nigeria,
Yeah, I love it.
Singapore, Malaysia, Egypt, like Germany, and any other country in the world, like Canada. They need
Yeah.
speakers like you
Yeah.
to sharing very powerful stories. Like, I've not heard that before. The only person I heard he died and resurrected is Jesus, And apart from that, I think you're the second person. And good enough, you just had 8 days, not 3 days. So, so there's a big difference.
Yeah.
So, what topics do you talk about, say?
Yeah. So a couple we've touched on today. I have a whole keynote speech on gratitude. And, all of the speeches have in common, I share my personal story.
Wow.
But then it's gratitude. And how do you apply gratitude to your life? And some of the things we talked about with, journaling and with positive people. It's a whole focus on how can you walk away with the right mental mindset and
Okay.
tools to have the gratitude
Mm.
attitude.
Okay.
One of my other topics, I spend a whole keynote on the 5% rule,
Oh,
which
the
I call
5%
it
rule.
the
Oh,
5% rule.
Yeah.
And spending 5% intentionally on the right things, or 5% over time to accomplish your long-term goal. And not everything's 5%, right? Some things you need to spend 10% or 15% or 20%. So you can chunk it out and think about multiples of 5%. And maybe someday some things should be 50% of
Mhm.
what you do. You're on vacation with your family.
Mhm.
You should be 100% present, having fun.
Yep.
That day.
Mhm.
And I also talk about play
Okay. Wow.
and how to innovate
Mm-hmm.
with play and make that part of your everyday activity
Yeah.
across your life,
Oh, yeah.
not just in one segment of.
I love that. Hey, dear friend. When was the last time you played? Like, when was the last time you played? Now, do you have a plan to play every day? At least for 5 minutes. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 15, depending on your work schedule. That's so important. Like, it helps you to be more innovative, creative, just like you heard from our guest, see? So, why not come out with a plan, with a schedule? Like your daily, like your weekly, your monthly, and a yearly playing schedule. Because that's going to help you to be way, way innovative than you ever thought about. So if it was you, because I'm making my own plan to play intentionally. And that is one of the things that will make you the world's best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's being, I call it consciously competent.
Mm,
Be with intent,
Yeah.
consciously competent. So, and then it becomes second nature. It becomes a habit.
mm,
But maybe initially saying thank you to people
Yeah.
is not something you do regularly or certainly often enough. So how do you build in the routine of saying you're great, you're fantastic, thank you?
Mm,
For me, I have a post-it on my mirror so every time I shave or brush my teeth
Yeah.
or wash my hands,
Yeah.
it says you are the world's best.
Oh, wow.
And that's telling me to be my world's best every day. But also I take it as a reminder that when I go out into that world, to say that to other people.
Wow. And before we talk about 3 practical things that every person watching us right now, who is even going to watch us after, can start doing to become the world's best. I just had an experience. The other day, one of my colleagues said something, which for the past time, nobody said that to me. So she said something like, "Hi, Oliver, I don't know if I've told you this before. I just want to appreciate you. You're committed to your work, you're diligent, and you're curious, like you're inquisitive, you want to find out the right things to do, and you do them." And that was like a jar, like it was so powerful. And I was like, who said that to me before?
Yeah.
Like I really did not just figure that immediately. And that really inspired me a lot. And this is what I did. I sent a text to my wife. I'm like, "Hi, Laura." I just sent her a text telling her that I'm proud of her, what she's doing with the kids and the family. And she was like, "Wow." And our response was like, "Wow, thank you, my husband."
Made her feel good and it made you feel good too.
Absolutely. And that was not all.
Yeah.
I went to the director of the Texas Institute of Public Speaking school in Africa, Milton in Cameroon, and I sent him a text. I'm like, "Hi, Milton. You're doing an amazing job. I love what you're doing. The student you're training every month, the result you're giving the institution is so amazing." I almost told him that you're the world best. So next time I'll tell him.
anyone who wants to say that, go for it. Right?
Yeah.
Just make it genuine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And look at what happened. Somebody gave me a word of gratitude, positive feedback, and it had a ripple effect. And I didn't keep it for myself. I was able to share to my wife. I was able to share to my director in Cameroon.
Yeah.
And it's and I don't know if they will do that to other people. And I think about that's so powerful, gratitude.
Yeah.
And like I say, when we started this conversation, gratitude is what connects us with power. I had a lot of doors opening to me around the world because I have learned to always say thank you to whoever ever helped me in whatever way or in any little way.
Yeah.
To just go back to the person and say thank you. Because there are a lot of people out there that they can help, but most of the time they don't help. But the people who go out of their ways to help, they deserve gratitude. They deserve that feedback of appreciation. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
So going back to you, Simone,
Yeah.
you're such an amazing speaker, and I cannot wait to see you more global stages. What do you have to tell our audience watching right now and those who will be watching after? Maybe 3 things, maybe
Yeah.
2, maybe 1 thing,
Yeah.
or what they can do to stand out wherever they are, whatever organization they're working in, whatever project they are right now onto it, on how to become the world's best. Like, let's not just talk about it, but let's be practical. Let's live it.
Yeah. So part of it starts with a belief, and I really do believe that you all are the world's best. Within each of us is the power, capacity, and talents to be the world's best. So it's a mindset to want to be the world's best for ourselves, our friends, our family, our coworkers. So it's being consciously competent for that. Then make gratitude part of your everyday life. You talked a lot about that in a great way, Oliver.
Thank you.
I think, play every day.
Yep.
Bring that into
Okay.
your life.
Mhm.
And practice 5%. 5% on what's important in your life. Focus on the right things. Find your mission. If you're blessed to find your mission, find your passion. Spend 5% on the things that are important in your life. So I think between those 3 things, if you can have gratitude, you can play, and spend 5% intentionally on what's important. That's a pretty good start.
Wow.
Even if you just picked one of those things, make that a habit. Make that a habit. Master it. Then go on to the second thing. Or if you feel good that all 3 you want to tackle today, go for it.
Good. Go for it. So number 1, we have to believe and have gratitude. You first have to believe that you're the world's best. That mindset. And then have gratitude. Like, be grateful for life. And I think everybody has something to be grateful. You could be listening to this podcast right now and you're in jail, you're in prison. And you're like, I don't have anything to be grateful for. It's a lie. That's not true. I believe it's not true because you are alive. There are people right now in the mortuaries. There are people even if you're in the hospital right now, in the surgical ward, you still have something to be grateful for. No matter what you're going through right now, you have something to say thank you for that single thing. And so the second one was?
Play.
Play, play. You just saw how we played and it was fun. So do the same thing, play. And finally, practice 5%.
Yeah.
All right. Like, what are you doing right now? You have to dedicate 5% of your day to practice what you want to major on. I put it there, like, we have the minors and the majors. So what are you majoring on? What do you want the world to know you for? Practice at least 5% every single day. And for those of you who are in the corporate right now and you have a dream, you have a desire, something you want to achieve. Maybe you want to become a corporate speaker, a trainer, a keynote speaker, a transformational speaker like Sign Muller. And you're like, what the heck am I going to do to get out of the corporate, to get into that? So maybe you just have to start practicing 5% every day, your keynotes, get your family together, get your colleagues together, start practicing. And good enough, if your work can permit you to speak, start from there. And then before you notice, they'll be inviting you to speak left or right, just like they're doing to our guest today, Sign Muller. And so that is so powerful. And I think if we can begin to do these things, we've talked about these 3 powerful things, your life would never, ever remain the same. And I know people will be like, there's something I learned. A lot of people, I'm sorry to say this, a lot of people are intentionally lazy to live their dreams, to go do the things that they're born to be doing. And it really hurts me a lot.
And I think a lot of times it's fear.
Yeah, fear.
People are afraid.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now look at it. Let's think about this way. Okay, what is that thing you want to do? Some people will say there's no money. There's nothing like no money because you just need to have passion for it and people will show up. A lot of people will say stuff like, I'm sick, I'm not sound, I'm not healthy. Think about, there are a lot of amazing people who were born sick, deaf, dumb, and they did amazing things. Like Helen Keller, like she was born deaf, dumb, and she could not see even neither, but she ended up being one of the best poets. So you don't have any excuse. You don't say I'm from the part of the world where there are no resources. No, think about it. What would you do if you had a problem? I watched a video on Facebook the other day, just quickly, and in this video, this gentleman had a kind of a wheelchair. He was working on a wheelchair. This kind of stuff that
a walker.
A worker.
A
correct.
Worker, yeah.
So he was on the worker. And guess what? The moment he saw a lion running after him, guess what happened? He threw away the worker and ran. And I was like, oh, this guy could run. So think about, see your life like that, okay? Like in one of my keynotes, I talked about the cat, the dog, and the lion. And I'm like, I was like, which animal is following you? Or which animal is pursuing you? Because when the cat is pursuing you, you can just have a word. You don't go there. Like when the dog is pursuing you, like to bite you, you want to make more effort. But guess what, Sig? What happens when the lion is pursuing you? I don't think you're just going to have a work.
Yeah.
You have to run for your dear life.
Emergency.
It creates urgency and emergency. And that's what this podcast is about. And that's what the conversation with Sign Muller today is about. And that's why we're here about. It's about to help you to do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Like, keep telling yourself, do it now until you get it done. So,
Yeah.
what are your last words to our audience, sir?
Be resilient.
Okay.
Get back up. We all fail plenty of times in our life or are faced with bad circumstances. So be resilient. Get back up. And then I'll mention also, I'm writing a book. I think I
Oh.
touched on that a little bit.
I can't wait to read.
So super excited about that. I'm targeting releasing it August 23rd, 2025, which would be my 1-year anniversary of my cardiac arrest.
Wow.
I have a lot of writing to do between now and then, but that's the goal that I'm working towards. The title of the book, working title, I can't promise it won't change, is Dying to be the World's Best.
Wow.
Reignite your heart to restart your life. So
Get ready to grab it.
yeah,
man.
yeah. And then, my speaking, people can check me out at betheworldsbest.com.
Yep.
And then LinkedIn, if you want to
Yep.
connect with me on LinkedIn, Oliver and I are connected.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, how can people reach out to you? So you have an email. People maybe there's a conference, there's a decision maker watching right now who wanna send you an email to like, hey, say we love to have you. We just listened to your podcast. We love to have you. Any email they can write to you?
You bet. It's SIG, SIG,
Yeah.
at betheworldsbest.com.
Okay, seek out buildtheworldsbest.com.
Yep.
Simple.
Yeah.
Grab the email and then shoot Seek an email and then get him to speak in your event. Like Seek is an amazing speaker, man, and you do want to have him there. So that was it as we saw today. My name is Oliver Shom, and I help you to become an international speaker and speak in different countries. And until we meet again, be the world's best.
And Oliver, thank you for everything you're doing for the globe with this podcast. You are the world's best and helping everyone else to be that. Thank
you so much. Great job. And that was it. And we want to give a high shout to our production studio, the podcast crew team. Amazing. Thank you, William, and the amazing team for this fantastic job. We are grateful. Yes, you're the world's best.